Hello there, incredible souls. I hope you are well. Thanks a lot for clicking this video. That gesture alone deserves acknowledgement or some round of applause. But today, I will give you a gift. Something you can feed on and feel nice. Something that will help you to grow. Because my friend, I want to give you something that will feed you spiritually. So listen and listen closely. My friend, kindly pass me the book of knowledge. If you are wondering what's up with the activities with the bunny friends here, Kirakasugumo, they are good friends of ours, which we mostly react to videos in. And today, they decided to sit with my friend there, whom you see passing me fruits. Now, here is the gift. The Lord reigns. Listen. Sing to the Lord a new song. Sing to the Lord, all the earth. Sing to the Lord. Praise his name. Proclaim his salvation day after day. Declare his glory among the nations. His marvelous deeds among all people. God is great for real. Let's give thanks. Father Lord, thank you for your word, Father. Thank you, dear Lord, for today's fruit. Thank you for this video, Father. This soul that has clicked this video, Father. Bless them abundantly, Father. Be with us all, Father. Every minute till the end. Just like you have gathered us here, Father. Be with us till the conclusion. In Jesus' mighty name, we pray and believe. Amen. My friend, we shall be reacting to videos. You wonder what type of videos I'm talking about. Interesting videos that need you to grab something like some snacks to eat along. Let's dive in so that you see what I'm talking about. Do you know what kind of cat this is?
Not a house cat. That is the most dominant cat in the world. Meet the African Blackfooted Cat. They're one of the smallest cats in the world, only getting up to 9 inches tall. I have action figures bigger than them, but it means nothing when it comes to this menace. First off, they have a hunting success rate of 60%. That's higher than any cat in the world, including lions and tigers and jaguars. But that's not even the crazy part. They also have a really fast metabolism. So they hunt like 15 times a day. And that's a low end. One researcher watched 2 of them for 622 hours. And he said they caught an animal every 45 minutes. And in 622 hours, 550 animals were consumed. And it was a bunch of different kinds too. Mammals, birds, reptiles. A 9-inch cat is an Avengers level threat. Moral of the story, the next time you're talking about lions and tigers, just remember, they're being outperformed by a 9-inch cat from Africa. And as always, follow for more facts.
If it's this cold outside, don't invite me nowhere. I'm staying in the crib.
Have you given up?
That is so cool.
Wow. Buddy, you are just so handsome.
Yeah. All right.
Amen.
Help! Happy birthday to Pilot. Flats without walls.
Why
Passioning.
money? I'd like to just travel around the world.
Then travel around the world.
I'd like to.
Then travel around the world.
Yeah, but how do I do that?
How do you do that?
Yes.
Like I said, you need to exercise more imagination as to what you're defining as a resource. May I give you an example?
Sure.
We use this quite often because it is a real physical world example of someone who is exactly in the same situation that you're describing. And because this is actually a person living on your planet, you will know I'm not just making up a fairy tale. This is something that actually can work in your reality. So take a lesson from this. There's a woman who's a fine, fantastic photographer. That is her passion. Her greatest excitement was the idea of going all around your planet and photographing what you call the sacred sites. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
All right. She had no money, which is one of the things that many people on your planet consider to be a necessary resource to do certain things. She did not allow her definitions to stop her. She allowed herself to stay in the vibration she preferred instead of succumbing to a fearful frequency. And by staying in the appropriate vibration of her preference, she was able to imagine, she was able to receive inspiration for how she could live her dream without necessarily having the resources that in the past she might have thought was necessary. And before I continue, therein lies the first important point. You cannot perceive what you're not the vibration of. If you don't stay in your preferred vibration, you will not be capable of receiving information or opportunities to show you how you might be able to continue. They will be invisible to you. Those doors will be closed to you if you don't stay in the vibration where they're open. So if you're afraid that you have no resources, if you're afraid you've lost the resources you need to continue doing what excites you, that fear in and of itself will actually make you incapable of receiving inspiration from your higher mind through your imagination that would allow you to do what you need to do. Do you understand that principle before we continue?
Yes.
All right, so to continue the story, the idea is that because she stayed in that state, she received an inspiration. Now, the next thing that many people on your planet would have said had she told them what she was inspired to do would be to have told her to her face that she was crazy, out of her mind, impossible, that would never work. Everyone knows you can't do it that way. That was not her vibration. She didn't pay attention to those things. Those were not her definitions of reality. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with being crazy. In fact, you might need a little bit more of it. So the idea then is that she received an inspiration. This is what she said. I will go to the airlines and I will ask them to fly me all around the world for free so that I may take these wonderful photographs of these sacred sites. That is my passion. Simple. She did it. But because she was inspired, she added one more piece to that and said, if you will fly me all over the world for free to these sacred sites, the beautiful, gorgeous, glorious photos I will take of these sites, you may also use for your travel brochures to entice more tourists to these places. So there was a fair exchange of energy. Very important in any agreement. Fair exchange. They said, not surprisingly, absolutely, great idea. Not only thus then did they fly her all over the world for free to take photos of the sacred sites, they paid her to do it, fed her to do it, put her up in the best hotels. She lived her dream like a queen, didn't spend a dime. The point being, unless you stay in the vibration of your preference, you will never be inspired to take the steps that would actually show you that such things are actually not only possible, probable, but highly likely when you stay in the appropriate frequency. Do you understand the moral of the story?
Yes. Yes.
Does this inspire you?
Does, yes.
Do you believe that this principle will work for you as well as it worked for her?
Well, you know,
Do you believe the principle will work for you as well as it worked for her?
I believe it can, but I think that I've been...
So the answer is no. Now, let me stop you there. I want you to understand something very paradoxically important here. In some senses, I know, I can see, I can read, some aspect of your being thinks that to answer you're not sure about that, you think that's actually humble. It's incredibly arrogant. It's incredibly arrogant to stand there and say that a principle of creation that works for everyone can't work for just you. You're singling yourself out of all of creation, that you're the only one for whom that idea doesn't work. That's incredibly arrogant. And I know you don't want to be that way. And I know you didn't think you were being that way. But the idea is that the paradox is that while many of you think you're being humble and saying, oh, no, I don't deserve that. That won't work for me. That is an incredible place of arrogance. All you need to do is understand that this is the way creation is structured. This mechanism works whether you think it does or not. In fact, it's working for you all the time anyway, because whatever it is you're putting out is what you're getting back. It's just that what you're getting back is a result of what you're putting out. The uncertainty you're putting out is what you're getting back. Uncertain situations. And that's why you feel that, in a sense, you're kind of at an impasse and don't know what to do. Because that's what you're putting out. Impassive vibrations.
Well, isn't it not true that sometimes you have to wait? Things don't just automatically appear.
It is true that there is, to some degree, the experience of what you would call a time lag within the idea of manifestation to allow you the experience of process that will enrich your appreciation of what it is you do ultimately manifest. But nevertheless, that doesn't mean that in any way, shape, or form, the so-called time lag or process needs to be any less a part of what is representative of your joy. In other words, you're not waiting for something to happen. Time lags don't mean you're waiting. Time lags just mean there's another part of your excitement going on that you're not really paying attention to or defining as part of your excitement. And because you're not defining the waiting period as part of your excitement, you experience it as a time lag, as a waiting period, instead of another exciting chapter in your story before something else exciting happens.
Well, that's true, I mean, I have been sort of having somewhat of a good time.
Oh, somewhat.
While I'm waiting, but
somewhat. But it can't compare to what's about to happen that I'm waiting for. But you see, the whole thing is that you're waiting. That's the energy you don't prefer. Don't wait. Understand that whatever it is you're experiencing can be experienced as a part of your excitement, as a part of that excitement. It's a stepping stone in that excitement. It's a piece of that excitement. It's not, in that sense, apart from it. It's not just something to get you there. It is, in and of itself, an expression of your overall excitement. Use your curiosity and your imagination to figure out how that can be so. And you will experience this particular time frame as exciting as anything. And you will not be waiting for something better to happen. And then when you stop waiting for something better to happen, it happens. Because you're no longer waiting for it to happen. You've taken the waiting out of the equation by loving whatever's going on so much that you collapse and compress time, and before you know it, something else is happening, and something else is happening, and something else is happening, and something else is happening. There's no waiting in excitement. Do you understand? There's no waiting in your excitement. Excitement does not contain the component of waiting. There may be other experiences between this experience and that one, but if all experiences in your excitement are equal, then you're not waiting for any one particular one to come before any other, because they're all so exciting that it doesn't matter what's happening. So you're never waiting. Make sense?
Yes.
Can you let that sink in?
Yes.
Are you sure?
I am.
All right. So this will work for you then, yes?
Yes, it will.
Because it does work for you already, doesn't it?
Okay, check this out. Yes, hamsters need hamster wheels because they have so much energy that they need to burn every single day. Matter of fact, in order for a hamster to be healthy, it has to run 5 to 9 miles every single day. Which, like, for size comparison, if a hamster was human size, that would be like them running 1,000 miles every day. That's an insanely large distance for such a teeny little creature. But enough about domesticated hamsters. Let's talk about wild hamsters. Wild hamsters have no need for a hamster wheel. They live in the wild. They can just run 5 to 9 miles every single day if they want to. But here's the thing. If an undomesticated hamster finds a hamster wheel out in the forest, they will immediately jump on the wheel. And not only will they jump on the wheel, they will start running on the wheel so much that they will stop eating and they'll stop sleeping. They become completely addicted to the hamster wheel that's just out in the forest. They long for the spin. Every single time that scientists put little hamster wheels out in the forest, hamsters always find them and they always ride them to death. And scientists don't know why they're doing this. Like, it makes so much more sense to just be running out in the wilderness instead of running to death on the hamster wheel.
Could God have created the Big Bang, started the Big Bang?
What a great question.
I don't think so, because God tells us what he actually did. And it's nothing like the Big Bang.
Yeah, I know. Obviously.
For a start, the time scales are drastically different. The Bible tells us that the creation was about 6,000 years ago, not 13.8 billion years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, they're different. I mean, they're way different. That's the point.
Secondly, the sequence of events is completely different. In the Big Bang, we have stars before the Earth. In the biblical account, the Earth is created before stars. In the Big Bang account, light is created before the Earth. But in the biblical account, the Earth is created first, and then God says, "Let there be light." So if the Big Bang is true, then the Bible is not. But if the Bible is true, then the Big Bang is not. And I don't believe the two are reconcilable.
So, what I hear you saying is that the Big Bang and Genesis chapter 1 have two different ways of talking about creation, right? And that they're not compatible. Agreed. Now, therefore, maybe Genesis isn't really telling us scientifically how anything happened. Just throwing that out there.
How long this is. This is how long the bottle looks. Bruh. I'm not a scientist or anything, but what the fuck is that? They are ripping us off because this doesn't go up or anything. It doesn't do that. It's literally that right there holds the tiny amount of product.
Okay, first off, I'm so sorry that you feel like you got ripped off from Elf. You actually didn't though. And the reason for that is because of new technology and bottles that are just coming out. Now, these have actually been out for a few years, but just now companies are starting to use them. So this is what's called an airless pump. Traditional pumps normally have a straw that goes from the pump head down to the bottom where it sucks, draws the product from the bottom. Airless pumps are different. They don't have that. If I can get it in there and show you guys. So there's no straw. The way that this works is actually by vacuum, and it's just far superior to an old-fashioned pump and far superior to a pot jar where you put your fingers in and get some out. And the reason for that is because nothing ever touches the product. So the way that they work is you just start pumping, and once you get enough suction inside, you can see that that little plunger in the bottom begins to draw up. So the way that this is so much better is, for an example, this is a brand new bottle of one of our products. This is about half used up. So if you actually can see the side here, you know exactly how much you've got left in there. And the reason why it's far superior is because your fingers never touch it. If your fingers don't touch it, you don't get bacteria, yeast, mold introduced to it. You don't get oxygen introduced into your product for oxidization. Your product stays fresher for much longer. And because it scrapes the sides, you get to use almost 100% of the product, just a very tiny bit in the top that doesn't get drawn out. So everything about it is just a better situation overall. And like I was saying, because your fingers aren't touching it, that means that we can go ahead and put less preservatives in. And preservatives are usually the culprits that irritate people the most. So if we don't have to worry about airborne bacteria, or yeast or mold, or the fact that people's fingers are going to be digging into it and introducing all sorts of goodies, then we can cut down on the amount to make sure that it still stays safe and shelf stable. So just so many good things about it, but you didn't get chipped. And There's hardly anything that ever goes wrong with these, but occasionally when you get a brand new product, if it doesn't want to start drying, if it just doesn't want to start pumping, what you can do, just take a paper clip, bend it out like that. There's always a vent hole in the bottom. All you have to do is just put it in and give the plunger a little bit of a push just to get it going. Sometimes it gets dry and sticky in there just on the first initial, just straight from factory. Number two, you want to make sure that the lids are always sealed on tight, because sometimes if they didn't get a good crank on there, then they won't create a suction. So make sure that your lid is on and give your plunger a little push in the bottom to get it moving the first time. Other than that, they're beautiful bottles, and I hope more companies switch over to them. There's just so many good things about them.
Last time I made this money disc with $1 and got a request to do an easier version, so here is how to make a much easier money disc. Starting face down, we're going to divide the long way into thirds. You can eyeball this, it's okay if it's not totally exact. Then open it back up, and step 2, fold in half the other way, and in half again. And the last time in half on each side, and this makes 8 even sections. Then we're going to fold those sections in half again into a skinny zigzag fold, then pulling down either end into triangle folds with the point ending at the first crease we made. Now we're going to invert every section to line up with that first triangle we just folded by opening the section and pushing in on it until it's fully inverted, and then squish to flatten. Hold your left hand at the first crease while pushing down on each fold with your right hand, and the fold should stop itself at the right place. And that last part becomes another matching triangle. Then do the same exact thing on the other side. Now pull apart and redefine those first folds. And then finally meet the ends, but put one section over another and hold it in place with the piece of Scotch tape, but fold a tiny tab because we're going to remove it in a second. Draw the folds back in and push down gently to pop it in place. And same thing on the other side, gently pop into place. You can now remove the tape and you're done. It looks like 7 slices of cake.
Mr. L.A. Marzulli, what is one unique Bible fact that you wish that more Christians knew?
Genesis 3:15, without hesitation. If you were going to keep one scripture from people, it'd be Genesis 3:15. Pastors who go to seminary are not taught what Genesis 3:15 is and the implications of this. I got this from Gary Stearman at one of our very early Nephilim Mounds conference. He took everyone to school that day. It was absolutely amazing. Elder Brother Gary gets the credit, but I've carried that torch and I constantly refer to that because Genesis 3:15 is right after the fall. You got Adam and Eve over here. They're completely freaked out. They're terrified. They're not even sure what's going on. You got the dragon Satan, who's the instigator, and you got the pre-incarnate Christ, who says to the dragon, your seed, your offspring, will be at enmity at war with the offspring of the woman. That's the whole Bible.
Why does some of the symbols on the periodic table not match the name of the element? Like, why is Na sodium, or W tungsten, or K for potassium? Well, the answer is because they weren't named in English. Many of the elements on the periodic table were named in Latin or Greek or Arabic or German. They weren't named in English, and so the element name in that language isn't sodium. For example, sodium was named in Latin, and the Latin name for sodium is natrium, N-A-T-R-I-U-M, Na. potassium, kalium, iron, ferrum. These are all different languages. So that's why some of the element symbols don't match their name on the periodic table, is simply because they weren't named in English. By the way, did you know the only letters not on the periodic table are J and Q? And that's again because many of the elements are named in Latin, and there is no J in Latin, and so there is no J on the periodic table. There used to be Q's on the periodic table when elements were undiscovered, but since then we've discovered those elements and given them proper names, and so there's still no Q on the periodic table either. Anyways, I hope that helps. I hope that clears up some confusion about the periodic table for you. I'll see you in the next one. Stay curious, everybody. Bye.
This is a hologram of an MRI. It's the future.
How to lose a finger in half a second.
This is a fantastic example for why you don't get too close to one of these guys, a snapping turtle. The clip that you guys just watched shows a person pouring some smart water into this snapping turtle's mouth, and she claims that she's giving it water. The snapping turtle doesn't seem very upset, but within a split second before this lady can even react, it lunges out, ends up biting the fence and scaring her away. Now, even though turtles do have the reputation of being extremely slow, snapping turtles and their reaction time when it comes to biting is very fast, much faster than we can react. On top of this, the average common snapping turtle does have a very strong bite force of around 210 newtons, which is often illustrated in videos with turtles biting through cans, and yes, they can also bite off a finger or a toe. Because of this, you definitely don't want to get too close to their face. They're not afraid to bite you as a means of defense, and usually when they bite, they don't just let go, they hang on. Fortunately for the person filming this video, they did have a fence between themselves and the snapping turtle, and they also didn't get too close where their fingers were within range. The only thing that happened was they got scared.
If only there was a page. Look at this, was recorded by someone's door camera. This is crazy stuff. What are these things? Oh, don't understand how. But man, this thing is producing fire and it ain't connected to any source of gas. How is this even possible? There is some glitch in the matrix. Yo, what? Are these really grasses, plastic grasses, or what's up? Crazy. Huh. Is that a person or a creature looking like a human?
Do you know that Neptune was the only planet in our solar system that we predicted to exist mathematically before we ever saw it? This man discovered Neptune by doing some math, and this is before calculators were even invented. So basically, scientists have this thing called orbital mechanics that allows them to predict the motion of things that orbit the sun, and we can predict that X number of years from now, there's gonna be an asteroid that passes by the Earth 500 meters away from us or something like that. And so scientists were doing orbital mechanics in the early 1800s, predicting the locations of planets. But the predictions for Uranus were failing. We were failing to predict where Uranus was gonna be. And so Leverrier said, you know what, let me tackle this problem. And he did a bit of math and he said, hold on, there must be some massive planet beyond Uranus that's affecting its orbit, making our predictions fail. And so he did some math and said, you know what, I think that this planet is going to be at this point in the sky, on this day, at this time, specifically there, but he didn't have a telescope. And so he called his friend in Germany, who was also an astronomer, and said, hey, look at this part of the sky at this time, on this day specifically, and you should see a planet there. And his friend set his telescope up and looked at that time, that part of the sky, and he saw it. He saw Neptune for the first time based on Leverrier's predictions. I think that's just so cool. This guy saw a problem and said, you know what, let me do some math on pen and paper, by the way, no computers, and he predicted the existence of a planet just like that. I think this shows the awesome predictive power of good math and good science. I hope you found this interesting. I'll see you in the next one. Stay curious, everybody. Bye.
Yes, iceworms are real, but no, they do not eat brains. Now, they do move among compacted ice crystals, which is pretty insane. They also can survive at 0 degrees Celsius, that's 32 degrees Fahrenheit, and they eat bacteria and snow algae. But no, they, again, don't eat brains. Don't be a sucker. Hope that helps.
Wonderful sauce. Hey, that's new to me. That's just video. Iceworms is something I'm hearing now. I'm even being surprised that they have been existing and there is even a myth around them that they feed on the brain. That is something unbelievable, mind-blowing stuff. Now those worms, English people, the ones that might know about them, do they come with the ice or the What? Please, give some explanation about those worms. It's crazy and believable stuff. I didn't know it is possible for it to rain worms, and it's just normal stuff, no curse. Anyway, my friends, now that you've watched all this why don't you even receive a round of applause because of that gesture? Yeah, good one, everyone for yourself. God bless you for that, my friends.